Hello, everyone. Now, this is probably obvious to most of you, but it is worth yelling from the mountaintops for anyone who may have missed it. When you engage in academic research, it is essential that you show the reader exactly where your ideas have come from. Good academic papers aren't solo endeavors. They are the product of all the credible research you've done to make your arguments thorough and objective. Now, let's say you work at an office and you're giving a presentation to the board of directors and you don't cite any of the coworkers who've helped you prepare this project. Well, those coworkers will be angry at you for not giving them due credit. They may conspire against you and complain to your bosses that you've taken their ideas and presented those ideas as if they were your own. It's the same principle in academic research, regardless of whether you're a first-year student or a professor emeritus. To avoid accusations of plagiarism, one of the first things we can do, if we're using MLA format, is have a works cited page that lists all of the sources we referred to in our research. Different sources will have different formatting rules. When you cite a YouTube video, it'll appear differently than citing a film, just as the format for citing scholarly articles is different from that of a web magazine article, for example. Now, you don't need to memorize all of the distinct works cited formatting rules, especially because MLA, in their infinite wisdom, will change those rules every few years. Instead, you just need to use a free online MLA guide that shows you how to cite your sources in your works cited according to the latest protocols. So having a works cited page is half the battle, but we also need to show our readers where exactly in our papers each source is being cited. Now, the first step to citing in text, and this is something we do need to memorize, is that we need to use parenthetical citations after we finish drawing on a source, to show the reader where the information is coming from, and also to distinguish our own original ideas from the ideas of our sources. Let's take a look at my first draft of this paragraph I'm working on. Now you can see here that besides my topic sentence, all of the ideas in this paragraph have come from the sources I've researched. I have my parenthetical citations with the author's name, page numbers, and timestamps, and these show you when I've finished using a particular source. But this isn't very original so far. It's all research-based, so I'm going to need to add some of my own analysis here, extrapolating or building on the researched evidence that I've gathered to support my argument. So far, so good. But I already noticed one problem with my in-text citation. My first source, highlighted in green, is from Horn. But if you look at my works cited page, you can see that I have two sources from Horn. Which one am I citing here? Now, here's our second rule to memorize. When you're citing two sources by the same author, we need to add the title of the source to the in-text citation. By source title, I mean here the title of the article, not the name of the journal or the newspaper, because it's the article title that will appear first in my works cited page after the author's name, so it's easy for the reader to locate. To save space, we can also abbreviate long titles in our parentheses, just giving the reader enough information to find the full citation at the end of the paper in the works cited page. Also, because I've mentioned Audrey Horn using an identifying phrase in my sentence, I don't need to list her name again in my parentheses. And just note as well, I definitely don't want to repeat myself in my introductory phrase by writing something like, according to Horn, she says. Horn and she are the same subject. Now, if I look at my other cited evidence here, the evidence from Briggs looks good. I've got timestamps because it's from a video. But what about source 3? Where is this information coming from? Now, as the writer, I know this is coming from an article called America's Ghostwood Forest. But how is the reader supposed to know this? From the reader's perspective, it looks like we're citing Palmer and Hayward, but these names do not appear in our works cited. Now, what probably happened is that Palmer and Hayward are being cited in this article, but they aren't the actual authors of the article. Since the source has no author listed, we'll go ahead and just cite the article title in parentheses. And in doing so, we're applying our fourth rule to remember. Always cite the source consulted, not a source within the source. And if we're really savvy, we could clarify in our parentheses that Palmer and Hayward are being quoted in that source. And again, for the sake of conciseness, I'm not going to list their names twice. Okay, so it looks like my rough research paragraph is groovy. I'm pretty happy with myself, and I'm going to take a nice break before I start working on analyzing and synthesizing all this great evidence I've collected. But before I get too comfortable, let me remind myself of the final rule that I do want to remember. I'm going to go back and review my work cited, consulting an MLA guide online, just to make sure that my formatting for each source is correct, that I'm following alphabetical order, that according to MLA 101, I'm using quotes for short titles and italics for long titles. And yep, it looks like I need a couple of italics here. And on the in-text front, I just noticed now that I've got some extra punctuation. I do not need the comma after hotspots in my first citation, and I don't need that period directly after forest in my final citation. The secret to mastering MLA citation is knowing what you need to know, memorizing and applying these 5 tips, and also knowing what doesn't need to be memorized, namely all of the different works cited formatting rules, which can be referred to using an online MLA guide. That's all for now. Happy research, happy writing, and I'll see you soon in another video.
Hear it right.